Of it. Running the floor. Embiid stuffs it.
Harden for three. James Harden with his second triple.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pick Swap Podcast. I'm here with my guy James G today. James B is out going to a concert, but I want to make sure that we got something out on the game 3 performance from the Sixers, which is honestly one of the best basketball games I've ever watched. So, James, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, I'm running a little bit low on sleep because, I couldn't sleep after that game last night. Yeah. But, we're doing fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get fully into it, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. BetUS is one of the leading sports books and casinos in the market. They got everything you need as far as player props, game lines, and anything else you might want to bet on. Make sure to click the link in our bio in the YouTube description and enter code PICKSWAP at login to get a risk-free bet. BetUS is everything you need there, so make sure to make some money while you're watching this fun Sixers run. So the story of last night is obviously Joel Embiid. The shot of a shot that I think will be a career-defining moment really in his life, and just one of the best overall basketball games of all time. What were your just thoughts on Embiid last night to start off with?
Okay, so in the first half, as we all know, he started off kind of sluggish, and I was a little bit concerned. He only had 5 points in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a few groups. Everybody was like, "Oh, Embiid's playing like the worst game of his life," but I was like, "No, he scored 19 points in the first quarter in Game 2. He'll come out the second half, come out the gate. I mean, he's playing the Raptors, who he's been fighting demons with. I had faith in him, and sure enough, he came out and he scored 28 in the second half. So I mean, I was just mesmerized, absolutely mesmerized. A couple shots, the fadeaway from the free throw line. The turnaround, I was when I watched that, my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, no way. This guy's 7'1", and he's making shots like that. I mean, he's shooting like a guard. And it's absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, there's really no words. It just speaks for itself. There's no words to put. You can't describe that performance with words, really. It's just amazing.
Yeah, pretty much a Drew Hanlon highlight reel for that whole second half in terms of just Embiid deep in his bag, showing everything he can do. It was just terrific to watch. To take a step back, look at that first half. Very interesting. This was like the Raptors' heavyweight punch in this game. They brought everything they got. This was the Raptors team that we kind of had some worries about going into this series. They won the rebounding battle. They forced turnovers. They had 14 turnovers in the first half. Like you said, Embiid had 5 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 turnovers. The Sixers were down 10 at half. Pretty much everything was breaking the Raptors' way. And for Embiid specifically, now, obviously, we've seen a changed Embiid this year, and he's been on a new level. But to start this game, we saw a little bit of kind of the Joel Embiid that we fear kind of could come back, and that we've seen at times in terms of not trusting his teammates enough, making some bad reads, forcing things. And he just really was struggling with everything the Raptors were throwing at him. And not to just turn that on its head in the second half and just put on one of the best shot creation and shot making efforts pretty much ever. Like the Sixers, every bucket that Embiid scored down the stretch was one that they just absolutely needed. And it felt like every shot he put up, the Sixers were kind of living and dying, whether it was that turnaround at the free throw, that pump fake 3-point at the end of the shot clock with the fading away, just an array of incredibly impressive baskets, and insane to put it on a back. To talk about the first half, the Sixers absolutely looked rattled. Was there any point in this game that you thought that the Sixers might not be coming out on top?
I was quite concerned. Obviously, the turnovers were a glaring. It was a really, really bad out there. We all know that the transition offense of the Toronto Raptors is among the best in the league, and the turnovers were enabling that. We were essentially enabling them to show us their strengths, and like you said, they showed us the best that they had, and they really they showed all of their best attributes as a team in the first half, which is why they were up by 10 through the first half.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it to me is everything was breaking right for the Raptors. They were playing their brand of basketball. They were creating turnovers. The Sixers were struggling, but it was still a game going into halftime. Only being down 10 after that was pretty shocking, and that's what gave me hope for this game. The fact that they were not blown out of the water, realistically, for all the breaks that have gone the Raptors' ways in terms of turnovers, Sixers not shooting the ball well, never finding a rhythm, the Raptors winning the rebound battle, which are all things that are the calling card of their team. They should have been blowing the Sixers out by like 25 points at that point. And for it to be a game that was kind of one of those like, all right, here's the moment. Let's see the Sixers turn it on. It was absolutely a gut check game. I mean, the Raptors, like, they have to be so frustrated with last night after like you accomplished what you wanted. You did what you wanted to do, and you still couldn't find a way to win. So I mean, I can't see this going any way than a sweep. We see how Embiid is in that. Do you agree that this ends in 4?
I absolutely agree. I think Embiid wants to finish the job. Going back to 2019, we all know what happened there. I think he just wants to finish it off, send these guys packing. He's obviously been playing very angry this series. He wants his vengeance, and he has succeeded thus far. Just got to close it out on 2 o'clock on Saturday in Toronto. Just wave him goodbye. I'm really excited to see that happen. So yeah, I'm going to add on to what you were saying. Not necessarily. I'm really just going to agree with everything you said. This game 3 has to be an absolute gut punch to the Raptors. I mean, Nick Nurse. I mean, he was a crybaby. Even after all the calls in the first half that kind of went their way, and even in the fourth quarter with the tech on Danny, they got their way with the refs, and they still didn't have enough to beat us. And it just has to be an absolute blow to their confidence.
Yeah, 5 more fouls on the Raptors than there were in the Sixers in the first
Yep.
in the first half of this one. I think there's way too large of a magnifying glass on the foul calls in the series in general, as I generally think there are across all NBA games. James Harden obviously was kind of the at the detriment of that, fouled out of this game. The Sixers obviously needed him down the stretch. That like you could tell, and as great as Maxey is, and how wonderful he has been, they needed the playmaker in this offense down the stretch. And Maxey still made some massive plays. He had a big bucket to pull him within 3, and at the tail end of the fourth quarter, started out overtime very hot. He had the tap in right after, ended with a total of 19 points on the game, and after kind of struggling out the gate as well. So it did a lot of good things. But James Harden's playing this overall. I thought it was solid. Harden specifically ended with 19 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. A pretty solid overall performance. The 6 fouls sucked. It sucked him not being there. The Sixers did need him in overtime. I love that Doc Rivers used the challenge there. Yeah. It hurts that it didn't have it for the block at Embiid in overtime, but absolutely the right call to try and keep your guy in the game. Do you think Harden had a solid performance, or where would you rank this amongst the series?
I was very, very happy. As long as Harden puts up like 20, but like 19 alone is great. But the fact that it was an efficient 19 points, like he's not shooting like 6 for 14 or something like that. It's something really bad. I don't know what his exact field goal percentage was, but I know he's very, very accurate, especially in the series. We've seen him struggle down the stretch at the end of the season. We were all very, very concerned about the hamstring and how, every single time he put up a 3, it would just, go around the rim and out. So I'm very, very happy to see that his efficiency has definitely improved in this playoffs. But I just want to give a couple shout outs, honestly. Some players that have gotten a lot of hate and coach. I want to give credit to Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, I said earlier when I was on the podcast a couple weeks back, they really need to blow me away during the playoffs in order for me to want to come back next year. And I'm going to be honest, he's done just that.
Yeah.
The timeout last night in overtime to set up the, drawing up that play. He's done an absolutely spectacular job. He's really done a really good job adjusting his rotations. I was really, really happy to see B-Ball Paul to get into the game, get some minutes in the playoffs. I think he's a much better upgrade over Paul Millsap or DeAndre Jordan. I'm really happy to see that. And then Tobias Harris. His stat line doesn't scream like, oh, he had a really good game. But if you watch the game and if you know basketball, you know the impact that he had. He played spectacular defense this entire series, specifically last night. He's been really huge for us. He's been making intangible impacts in terms of a stat line. He's done really, really well. I'm really happy. At the moment, I'm looking at him and be like, yeah, he deserves that max contract right now. I think him being the third or fourth option on offense certainly helps his confidence. There's not as much pressure on him as there has been in years past. I'm really, really happy about him. Obviously, we have Embiid, Maxey, and Harden. I'm really excited for what's to come. We have a 3-0 lead. I'm expecting a sweep, but I wouldn't put anything past Doc Rivers. Teams are like 143-0. I wouldn't put past Doc Rivers. I don't want to be a doubter. I'm really, really happy. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to get too enthused over the fact that we have a 3-0 lead because we are dealing with Doc Rivers here. So, but overall, I'm very, very, very happy about last night and how I've honestly never been more enthused by a playoff series. I never felt more comfortable, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on just about everything you said there. To start with Doc Rivers, for a guy who has earned the criticism that he's gotten during his time at Sixers, he has made some head scratching decisions. He's had his stubbornness to him. He's had his not positive ways of dealing with the media and his responses and everything. But for these playoffs specifically, he's coaching circles around Nick Nurse's in a way that I could have never imagined would happen. And he's made the right decision with the backup center. He's played Paul Reed, who's made a positive impact far more than DeAndre Jordan would have. His rotations have been crisp. He's had some well-timed timeouts. Just has the team clicking in a way that I don't think any of us expected going into this series. That little time off with the playing games where the Sixers had a break, had a chance to just practice, it just does not happen during the NBA season as much as people kind of think. Like the fact that there's that much travel, so many games, teams just simply don't get to practice as much as would be beneficial. And for them to have a chance to go back to square one, make that happen, the effects are clear. And this Sixers team, for the first two games especially, were clicking on absolutely all cylinders. And for game 3, the response that they had, the way to turn around, and that starts with Doc too. And Embiid talked in his post game how Doc kind of came up to him and was pretty sharp with him at halftime about him needing to make smarter decisions, turn the game around. And he did. He absolutely did. And obviously this team starts with Embiid. He's the engine. He's the lifeblood of this entire franchise.
Yep.
But Doc just being able to string the pieces together and get this organized has been absolutely crucial. And I could not be more impressed with how he's managing this. Even the timeout at the end, the sprinting down the sideline, putting in his best 40-yard dash time to get that timeout and get that play called off was terrific. And then to touch on Tobias Harris has been the unsung hero of this Sixers team through these playoffs. He's been absolutely terrific. He's playing within his role, and he deserves so much credit for just the adjustments in his game. Like, this is a different Tobias Harris than we saw through the first couple games when James Harden was first traded here. And for Tobias, to be completely fair to him, a player of Harden's caliber and the stylistic manner of his game is completely different than what Tobias had been accustomed to playing to. Think about, he was kind of the number 2 option this year, being able to throw up whatever he wants. He gets his Tobias post up and fadeaway long twos that he lives for.
Yeah.
And then to have to just cut that out, which is really the bread and butter of his game leading up to this point, it's been awesome to watch. He's been the most efficient version of himself. He catching and shooting threes comfortably, and defensively, he is really saving the Sixers team. If Tobias Harris can continue to be a defensive glove for this Sixers team, it's kind of scary. Like the effort that he's putting in on Pascal Siakam, especially. Siakam was 0 for 5 in the second half, 0 for 1 in overtime. He shot below 20% on the series, which is insane. And the Raptors offense just pretty much content with giving Siakam the isolation and make him go to work, dig in his bag. And Tobias is not having it. And another shout out to Georges Niang, who also got switched onto Siakam a couple times and almost picked his pocket one, gave a great defensive effort. And Niang has stayed ready. He played 23 minutes in last night's game, which is the most that he's played all series, knocked down 3 threes, got a major board after the Achua missed free throw, and he was coming from the perimeter coming to grab that. So just everybody on this team working. And What were your thoughts on the bench rotation with Niang getting extended? Doc didn't really replace Thibault with anybody. He gave more extended run to all the starters. The only guys off the bench were Niang, Paul Reed, Shake Milton, and DeAndre Jordan for the last one rebound. So any standouts from the bench in your mind?
Obviously George Niang, as you just noted, he's been pretty good on defense, considering he's not really known for his defensive ability. But I think the team as a whole has really stepped it up. I mean, it's the playoffs, so of course it's gonna be more aggressive. But Toronto came in, especially this game, more aggressive than ever, and this team just embraces Philly's energy and like screams it. If you want to bring on you want to be physical with us? We're going to be more physical with you guys. Try us, and that's what they did. We saw Raptors came out, they showed us our best, and Embiid and everybody just stepped it up and brought the aggression and returned the energy, which was absolutely spectacular. And I think that's something that's gone across the entire organization.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to, I can't quite get over Embiid yet. I do want to circle back to it again. First off, the absolute hostility he faced, which and this is a testament to Embiid's evolution as a superstar and becoming a guy that is like that hated by a franchise is a compliment to just his skill set and the impact that he has. But the FMV chants screaming throughout some of the most horrible things I've seen online directed
Yeah.
to this guy from the
Yep.
Raptors community in this.
Yep.
But to just come out, not be rattled by that, to have the first half performance he did, to wipe that clean, ending with 33 points, 13 rebounds, only 2 turnovers in the second half. Obviously 6 turnovers in the game's a lot, but he really cleaned it up. And I'm just blown away by like the talking shit to Drake after the game was absolutely awesome. I just can't get enough of it. And to think back to this guy specifically, like obviously when he was drafted, there was such question marks surrounding. He missed the first two full seasons with the foot injury, and there were legitimate questions of, is this guy ever even going to play in a basketball game? To go from that and to continue to trust his own process, to develop and become the superstar that has flourished into, has just been tremendous to watch. And I really don't think I've seen a player like encapsulate a city in the way that Embiid has. And he is the lifeblood of the entire Philadelphia. Just like thinking back to 2019 when he's walking off the court with the tears coming down his face, with him being memed into oblivion by all the internet, with that first time we kind of got introduced to his now fiance and DePaul, and him crying on his shoulder, and then to come back 3 years later and hit his own buzzer beater in that same gym.
Yep.
I'm so thrilled for him as like a human being and a person, and obviously for the Sixers as well. And for a guy that's 7 feet tall, monstrous build, and obviously one of the most impressive basketball skills, I just think he's one of the most relatable guys of all time, which is fascinating to me. Would you agree with that?
No, I would 100% agree. That revenge has to taste sweet,
Yeah.
for him. Even as a fan watching that, I was laying on my living room floor, just chilling, watching the game, and I was tense. And then Kawhi hits that shot, and what I did is I just laid on my floor. And I was just like, I just stared at my ceiling for like 45 minutes. My parents would just walk by. They were making dinner and whatnot, and they were like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything okay?" I'm like, yes, but no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I can only imagine how he felt. Obviously as a fan base, it feels amazing, to hit a buzzer beater, to really, throw a punch in the gut to Toronto, really kill their spirits. It was really, really amazing to see. But yeah, last night I saw that. I was going insane, and I'm telling you, I was not able to sleep. I did not fall asleep until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had an 8 a.m. class today, so it was absolutely insane. I was just like posting memes everywhere I could. I'm in Sixers groups. I joined Raptors groups, and I posted a meme where it was like, "You just got beat by the super free throw bros," and it's like James Harden and Joel Embiid dressed up as Mario and Luigi. It's like I was just like trolling people. I was going off. I was enjoying myself. And obviously, I'm so happy for Embiid. He absolutely deserves this.
Mhm.
And I just want to note, there was a couple of plays that I noticed last night that really shows Embiid's maturity as a player. Obviously, off the court, we've seen, he's really matured. But on the court, one play I want to note, I think it was in the fourth quarter. He got dished the ball in the paint. He was doubled, and he dished it out to Danny Green for that three.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? In years past, we would normally see Joel Embiid try and go up and put it in and take a really bad look or something like that. Instead, I think he pump faked or something like that and then dished it out. So he's being really unselfish as well. He's not trying to do too much, which we've seen before. He just tries to do too much and then it just backfires. But he's doing everything he can. He's passing the ball around. He's scoring. I mean, he's quite literally MVP. I know MVP is a regular season thing, but if this game doesn't scream MVP to you, I don't know what does.
Yeah, 100%.
It's absolutely mind-boggling. I'm still shocked about it. I keep on watching the play on like every single. I listen to it on the radio. I watch it on NBC Sports. Listen to Kate Scott do it, and then I forget where it was nationally televised, but I watched that as well. I just watched it over and over and over again. It's absolutely insane. Every single time I get chills. I get chills every single time. That's the greatest Sixers playoff game, even Sixers game that I've watched since the process. Absolutely insane. I'm just so excited for what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm a guy who usually like I watch the game, I do my writing, I make my notes, I do the podcast and kind of move on to the next. For this game specifically, like I have gone back and watched the like 10-minute YouTube highlights of it probably 20 plus times already. And I've seen the specific shot like I don't even know countless times already, and I'm not sick of it whatsoever. And another kind of just like demon that Embiid has overcome with this is he was 0 for 14 on game-winning or game-tying shot attempts prior to that shot last night, with one of them already coming in that game, which is kind of crazy to bounce back from that. And I mean, so cool, just like him wearing his heart on his sleeve, this is something that I think opposing fan bases hate a lot about him, and something that I think specifically Philly fans have clung on to. Like the second after he hits that shot, he's not one of kind of the NBA guys who get into their swagger or just sit there and smile or take it. Like he was jumping up and down, swinging his fist around, animated, and he got composed when he realized there was time left on the clock. That would have been the only thing that made it better, is if there was straight zeros on the clock after that went through. But just the raw emotion that he showed was so cool to me. And I mean, he's a guy that is capable of being the closer. He obviously is expected to be on this team. And I really think it's being very clear that we're seeing a different Joel Embiid this year, that we are seeing it's a testament to the work that he's put in, the commitment that he's made to his training, to his nutrition, to his body, to his off the court maturity, the way he's growing up. This is a guy, it's being put on the national stage, what we've been seeing all season, that this is a Joel Embiid more focused than he's ever been. He's I would say the most gifted big man in terms of skill of all time. I mean, the touch that he has, I've never seen a big man who has just the touch. Like Embiid's jumper has such like a softness to it in a way that even a lot of guards and wings don't even have it, but it just kind of like sits on the net and it just wants to go in a way that's so cool. And I mean, you saw the shot last night, just pure net. He didn't let any of the funky turn on rims get a swing on it, but the development in his offensive game has been just unparalleled. I really don't think we've seen anything like this. And to touch on your point about the unselfishness, like that's a major part of this growth. And to kind of see that in the first half where he got into the bad habits of sucking it in and just trying to take on the world by himself, to then flip that in the second half, to me is even more impressive than if he had gone through and stuck with it. So I just don't have I can't say enough about Embiid. I'm so thrilled for him. I'm so thrilled for the city. I do want to talk a little more about Tyrese Maxey. And I think last night was a cool kind of growing up moment for him, where obviously we don't want Harden out of the game, but it happened with the fouls. It forced the ball into Maxey's hands late in. He had to be kind of the guy, the shot creator. He hit some big moments, hit some big shots. I was a little disappointed not to see more of the Maxey fast break. In games 1 and 2, we saw a lot of kind of the one-man fast break where Maxey would get the rebound and just go take it coast to coast himself. But not a lot of that in game 3, but he still certainly made his impact. What were your thoughts on Maxey overall?
So to note on the lack of transition, I think the Raptors, Nick Nurse made an adjustment. He started running a zone defense. So I really think running that kind of scheme prevented from Maxey, because I mean it was glaringly obvious that Maxey has so much more speed than the entire Raptors lineup. I mean, he would blow by guys, and just like that, he would have 15 feet on a guy. So I think Nurse made some adjustments, but yes, for a guy that's 21, he came up huge. I mean, I'm 20. I'm imagining myself like a year from now playing in playing in the NBA and coming up huge, making some really, really huge baskets. And he's mature. He is
Yeah,
mature. So I'm gonna go to the Danny Green tech. He was
yeah,
the he was the first guy to go to Danny Green and be like, "Yo, bro, you need to calm down." And mind you, Danny Green's been in the league for who knows how long, so he's a veteran. But Tyrese, like, I guess Danny Green said something very provocative to the ref, and that would have probably gotten him a second tech or ejected. And so Tyrese was like one of the first guys to run over. Like I saw it, like his eyes went big and he like sprinted over and he was like, "Yo, Danny, you need to cut this out." And like he's 21 years old. And it was just really, really neat to see, how mature he is as a player, how he knows when you should control yourself. It I this series in general has kind of left me speechless with a lot of these players. Tyrese Maxey, obviously, we saw him come out the gate, 38 points. Game two, again, I think he scored 23. Then last night, he didn't score as many, but he made differences in other ways.
mhm,
Um, he's really, really blossomed. I mean, everybody's saying he's blossoming into a star. I would argue that he already is a star.
yeah,
I think he is a star. I think he has embraced the role, the starting role. He's really come into the spotlight. Everybody was nervous coming into the playoffs. Was like, hey, is Tyrese going to be ready to come in the spotlight? I mean, this is the big dance, pretty much. Is he gonna be able to really perform in the big moments? And he obviously has. And it things couldn't have gone any better thus far for
mhm.
Tyrese and the entire team. I'm really, really happy about it.
Yeah, he does not blink in any moments. He just steps up to whatever challenge is in front of him. Any goal that has really realistically been set for him during his time with the Sixers, he's just blown by and blown past. And I just really can't think of like a ceiling to put on this kid for how good he can be. He just continues to blow my mind, and it's just so awesome to watch. He's another guy that I'm just so grateful to be a member of the Sixers. Like he's a guy who's so fun to root for, such an electric person, such a great personality, and as a human being in addition to just a tremendously skilled basketball player and a guy who makes a ridiculously positive impact on the court. And the Danny Green tech, I mean, for a guy that's a 14-year vet who's looked at as like the veteran presence in a leadership position on this team, I've never really seen Danny that animated. Like that was one of the bigger freakouts I've seen Danny Green have in his entire career. So
Yeah.
pretty crazy for I think he was being hooked on as he tried to go out for the rebound and he got the foul on him, which obviously not the right call, and that sucks. But those do just kind of happen. Refs get baited into that all the time, and very funny, but awesome reaction from Embiid, Maxey, and Harden are all just like pushing the shit out of Danny Green, just being like, "Don't let us have to play Korkmaz." Is pretty much like their whole statement. Like they're like, "You are our only wing option right now. Like get it
Yeah.
together." And and he did. So I was
Yeah.
happy for the response for the teammates. Like you said, a tremendous sign of maturity in Maxey for stepping up and being the first one there. I do think it was. I think this team is starting to have like the connection and the chemistry as an entire unit that we're seeing blossoming, and that's incredibly difficult to do in half a season that this team has been put together in its entirety. Obviously, the James Harden trade, it's been such a just turbulent season in terms of obviously the Ben Simmons stuff to start the whole season. He's making his return for the Nets in Game 4, so we will see how that goes. But we
Yeah.
managed to pull the trade. We got James Harden, and then to rework the entire offense, rework the entire tune of this team, the kind of personality of this entire roster, because Harden is such an integral part of what they currently do, to now get this sense of connectiveness as the postseason is here and as they are peaking at the right time is so encouraging. And I'm feeling it again. Like after the first couple games with James Harden, there was that feeling of like this team can be something special. And then after that stretch, Harden cooled off. The team kind of cooled off. They had a couple bad losses, an up and down into the season. But now looking into this postseason, through these first 3 games, like I love that they got punched in the mouth by the Raptors last night and they just responded. Like the first 2 games were awesome that their game plan worked, they executed, they found a way. But to have to overcome that just difficult performance and find a way to win in a game that they really were not supposed to, that to me means even more. And I'm just starting to believe that this team has a chance. And I don't want to look ahead too far. They still have to win one more to go into this series, and most likely looking at the Heat in the next round. But are you starting to feel that this team has a long-term chance in these playoffs?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so. There's 2 things. It's one thing for a team to get hot going into the playoffs. It's a whole nother thing for a team to get hot in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's exactly what's happening with this team. I always had faith through the end of the season. Everybody was doubting the Sixers. I mean, we finished with the 4th seed. I know we were tied for second, but we obviously had some glaring flaws on our team. A half-court offense was really slow, and there's just a lot of things going wrong. But I knew it was all part of a learning curve. I was expecting for us to come out the gate and be really hot. I mean, it was a whole new offense. The league didn't know what to expect. So, of course, we were going to come out the gate and be really, really good. League caught up to us, knew how to defend us, and, we really slowed down. I knew the Brooklyn game was kind of a gut punch to our confidence. I mean, that was huge. But, I knew the entire time it was going to be a learning curve. I didn't know if we were going to become this good like this year. I knew it would be like next year, like we're going to build chemistry through the offseason. We'll see what happens, but it's happening a lot earlier than I had anticipated, and it's going to be monumental. I'm really excited for this playoff run. We got 3 wins. We got 13 more to go before we can party on Broad Street, and hopefully that'll happen this year. It's looking more likely. We're looking at some injuries in the Eastern Conference. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I think Chris Middleton is out with like an MCL sprain. Yeah. We're looking at Devin Booker. He's out for like 4 weeks with something. I don't know what he injured, but he's out for a good while. Yeah, hamstring. So there's some teams are getting beat up, and knock on wood, we can stay healthy and really, really make a run here.
Yeah, that's one of the kind of the keys to the playoffs. It's interesting. Like obviously the regular season isn't meaningless because you have to figure everything out. But this is the real deal. This is the real show. This is what everybody plays for. And as the Sixers stay intact, Joel Embiid at this level, obviously he was nursing the wrist a little bit at the end. They asked him about it post game. He said no chance that he would miss Game 4, which I respect. I didn't expect anything less from him either, and the wrist looked pretty nice on the final play of the game. So I wouldn't say I'm that worried about it. This guy's got a ridiculously high pain tolerance and is kind of always battling something, unfortunately. So I'm very confident about the Sixers moving forward. They got Game 4 on Saturday at 2:00, little afternoon. So get ready to get the brooms out for that. Do you have any final thoughts before Game 4?
My only thought is keep your foot on the gas pedal. Really, don't let this overtime win get to your head. Don't get too confident. Don't get too complacent. You got to finish the series. The job's not done, as Embiid said, in the interview last night. Just keep your pedal to the metal. You got to. I mean, you don't have a ring yet, and I don't think you can get too complacent until that occurs. So I just don't want to see this team get too comfortable and start dropping some games, and I just ride this wave of confidence. Keep staying hot. Just keep it up. Don't get complacent.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with all that. I'm hoping for the sweep. I would love the extended rest before the next round. It's not the biggest deal if they lose this game. If we have to end it in Philly, I'm not that mad about it. But at the same time, I can't imagine this Raptors team isn't feeling low right now. Like I can't imagine that they have to be feeling like we just played our brand of basketball, gave our best shot, and it wasn't enough. And also the Scotty Barnes supposed to come back. I don't see the sense in bringing him back unfortunately, for the harsh reality for the Raptors is you're not going to win 4 straight games against this Sixers team. Scotty Barnes has a promising young career. I'm a major fan of his game. I think way more risk than reward, so I don't think it makes a lot of sense to bring him back. But we will see. Regardless, the Sixers have Joel Embiid, the best player in the universe. They need one more win to advance, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time on the Pick Swap Podcast.